All right. So what's up, brother?
What's going on, everybody? Live again.
You wanna
Has it even
you
been?
wanna walk into? You said what's that?
I said it hasn't even been 24 hours since I've been live.
Yeah, it's been like a year since. It's been at least a year since the last time me and you did this.
Yeah, yeah. Me and you did one about a year ago. Actually, it might have been longer than that. It might have been longer than that. It might have been 2 years.
I think it was.
But
Do
we,
you wanna walk into this one, letting them know what the topic is, or you wanna give some background about like us and?
how about we give some background about? Let's start with you though. Tell us about yourself.
Oh, background about me. Well, my name is Robby Myles-Jones. I come from the Buffalo, New York area, or Western New York, as some people call it. Um, I'm a very eclectic individual. I come from all walks of life, literally all walks of life. Anything you could think of, I've done it, been there, almost anything. As far as like classism, from being in the hood and living a street life to being in rooms where plates cost $500. Um, for real. I've experienced a lot in my life, so it makes me a well-rounded person in a lot of areas. I'm not the most educated person. I'm a family man. I'm true to true justice. I see no color. I see equality. That's
That's
me in a nutshell.
that's good to hear. Interesting, because I wanted to talk about a little bit about some of the current issues with race, police brutality, stuff in that realm. I want to get into it. I'm not scared to talk about that kind of stuff. A lot of people think that's, why would you want to talk about that? That's just going to cause problems. You're just going to get people mad. I don't see it that way. I think it has to be done. It has to be done. It's like the elephant in the room. We're all Americans and we all know it. You go to the store and you can just feel tensions between certain people. And it's not because of anybody
Yeah,
individually. It's because, in my opinion, it's because of the way we're taught to think, the way the media projects every situation. I feel like people are taught to think in terms of race, and they don't even realize that it's just causing more division and more problems. But that being said, I think people on both sides they fail to see what the other side sees. You know what I'm saying? I think both sides are
it's a good point.
pretty stuck in their ways a little bit. Like, how can they be like that? How can they think that way? What's wrong with them? Don't they? You know what I'm saying? And you see it with both sides. So I don't know the police thing, right?
Um,
Over the summer we saw over,
right.
over the summer we saw defund the police as like the biggest topic going on, and there's people who were saying,
Right.
how can you not want to defund the police? How disgusting are they? They're just killing people left and right. They're just doing what they want. They're just generating revenue, giving everyone tickets. And it's like, is that really just the truth, or is there? You know what I'm saying? I I see it like this. This is my opinion on this matter is very simple, but it might seem complicated to some people. A police officer takes that badge and he serves in his oath to serve the community. I give every single police
Right.
officer in the world the benefit of the doubt because there's more good cops than bad cops. I do, you know what I'm saying? I
But
don't,
Neil, if I before you, not to cut you off, before you go any further, do you honestly feel that way? Like truthfully,
yes,
me and you both know, like, we've been in the system together, so I know you've dealt with police before.
yes,
Has every police officer you've encountered treat you fairly?
no, no. I got, okay, I'll give you a story right now. I watched this with my own two eyes. I watched some guy. He must have been having a bad day or something. He was mouthing off to a correctional officer. The correctional officer then took his food tray and threw it across the room in front of the camera. There was one camera in the room. It wasn't on them. It was on the door. He threw it in front of the door.
So he threw one of the 3 square meals that they provided. They
Yeah, one of those little peanut butter and jelly trays that with little milks that you get in
that we rely on to survive in
kids.
there.
so, so here's what happened though. Everybody's like, why would he do that? He looks at the inmate and says, I just threw your food in front of the camera. You just threw that food. He goes, matter of fact, you just threw that food in front of the camera. That's what I'll write down. He's like, now I can beat you up and do whatever I want. And if I write down that you threw that tray at me, you're in trouble and not me. And the whole 50 people on the unit saw him say that with complete confidence that nothing was going to happen to him. Nothing did happen to him. The next day he was back at work. Like nothing happened. Like, I know.
So like what just happened at the Capitol?
Oh, you're switching gears quick here, bro. Hold on, slow down a little.
I'm sorry.
Slow down a little bit. All right.
I'm sorry.
My thing is this. I know that there are police and correctional officers, people with badges and power that do sketchy stuff every day. It's going on. I know there's a fact.
Right.
Police reform, stuff like that. That's something that needs to be addressed for a fact. I know there's cops that go out there and they brutalize people. They just do dirty things, and
they abuse their power.
Abuse their power. Exactly. It happens. I think the problem with that is instead of defunding the police, it needs to be refunded. It needs to be approached better. Like it needs to be approached into, a lot of people are probably going crazy for hearing this right now. But hear me out though. A person can be a cop easily. Just sign up, take the test, wait a little bit,
right,
get an answer back, go through the academy, boom. And some idiot that never even went to college is now a cop. It can happen easily. Not every cop's like that though. My thing is the way we treat certain institutions, like being a doctor, for example. You can't just become a doctor just because you want to be a doctor. You got to go to college for years and you got to learn, you got to read books and you got to understand certain concepts. I think police needs to be dressed the same light. So it's not a job to be just given out to anybody. Because I think it's
so you're saying like essentially
a breeding ground.
What you're saying. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I'm listening.
So essentially what you're saying is that instead of defunding the police, you think that we should have a better vetting system when hiring new police officers.
Exactly.
Okay, so by trade, I'm a CNA. Mm-hmm. By trade, I'm a CNA, and part of our training is understanding how to deal with Alzheimer's or dementia or any other mood or mental altering issues or complications that come from health. And right now we're on one of the biggest peaks of mental health issues in our country. You know what I mean? And it's not for lack of knowing, it's just becoming more public now. Before, when people, were out and about and there were kids that, some of our peers would stare at, and there were adults that we didn't understand why they'd be talking to themselves. This is the ignorance that carried over in police forces. Those kids eventually became cops. Some of them our age, and they were some of our peers that made fun of people with mental health issues because they themselves grew up with insecurities. Because there's parts of this that we still haven't talked about. So then you got people who are essentially going out into the world with issues of their own and don't know how to handle people who aren't normal. Now, outside of the statistics on African-American shootings, unarmed African-American shootings, or African-American shootings that could have been prevented in proper policing, let's also look at the statistic of the amount of people with mental health issues who were essentially shot or killed due to the misinformation or ignorance of our current police forces. And that's across the nation. That isn't simply you know what I mean? Just one area. It isn't designated, or those statistics don't come out of one state. This is across the country. I think to piggyback what you're saying, okay. Go ahead.
No, I'm listening.
But before you say something, to piggyback off of what you were saying, like, not only do I think we should find a way to better fund the police, but I think we should also, on top of that vetting process, let's put them in CNA training. Because that was a large portion of our training, is to understand how the human mind breaks down and to be able to identify some of these things, because you have triggers. You have certain things with people with mental health issues that certain things, events, TV, songs, people near them, that's a trigger for them. And if you don't know how to identify a trigger or identify what's triggering that person, then you essentially can't leave that situation without it eventually becoming hostile, because they don't know what's going on. There we go. That's really all I had to say on that portion.
Oh, you know, I know you pretty well. We know each other for years, right? About
Right.
2008, I think that's when I met you. Tell me, I know you grew up in the. I mean, you grew up in the hood, right? It is what it is.
Right. East side, Kensington and Bailey, Thatcher Avenue, 970, baby.
Okay. You know, I grew up in Kenmore. It's not the same.
Right.
Not the same atmosphere as where you're from. You know what I mean? What did you see?
As far as policing, definitely not.
Tell the people what you saw growing up with police being around there. Just give me.
See, I remember
give me a story.
One of for me, one of the most I'm gonna bring up that story. The story me and you were talking about. So I was younger. It was in my teenage years. I was probably like 14. And there was a set of brothers that would visit the Lower East Side area, I guess you could say. I don't know what they call lower or upper, but over there near the Berkshire, Bailey and Kensington, Minnesota, throughout that area. And what I don't want to say his name on here, but he was out past curfew. He had parole. He was on parole for issues that he's had in the past, and he wasn't a stranger to the police force or the Buffalo police. So like if you're living a street life, eventually, for those of you that don't know, if you live in a street life, some of these cops are on these beats and they get to know you by face, especially if they've arrested you before. Right. So we over here off of Bailey, boys are shooting dice. I don't shoot dice, but I'm watching. You know, I still got friends from the street, so one of my friends was there. So we sitting around and they saw him and he called him by name. And when they went to go chase after him, he gave chase. He ran. And while he was running, before he could jump the gate, he was reaching for a pistol to throw it off of his hip. His back was still towards the police. No sooner than the gun hit the gate and fell, when he jumped up on the gate, the gun was gone. But because they could say they seen a firearm, they planted like 3 shots in the dude. He was not a threat. His back was turned towards him. He was on top of the gate going to jump over. And none of that would have ever happened had they not physically seen him and known him by his face. That situation would have never happened. I'm not saying what he did was right or wrong. You know what I said? Like I'm saying, I got friends in the streets. What we do, you know, and they do here and there, like there's not too much we can really say as far as law-abiding citizen, not law-abiding citizen. None of us deserves to be paralyzed. Essentially, he was paralyzed.
Right.
He went to jail. I mean, to further his story, after they paralyzed him, he's in jail. They burnt him in the shower, bro. He can't move in a wheelchair. He was just freshly wounded. He didn't understand how to work the mechanism that was to unlock it, and they put him in the shower and put the hot water on. Mm-hmm. These are the things that that criminals face in this country. We're just as much slaves as we are anything else, because who's going to say what? We were a criminal. No. I mean, you look at it now with George Floyd or whatever, when it reaches public, and this is going to sound, you know, I'm a mixed person, but white America often not, because they don't understand the criminal aspect of our population. Automatically anything is deemed as a death. It's a death sentence. You violated the law, you should die. That's not okay, bro. That's another portion of policing in this country that is the reason why some of these things don't change. It's the reason why this stuff don't move forward and we don't progress. As long as you have that percentage of working class America that equates crime to death, we're already lost right there.
No.
So you jaywalk or smoke some weed, I should put a bullet in you.
Now, you've seen that situation.
It's a crime you committed.
You've seen that situation happen more than once. What you told me about your friend. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Now, a lot of people hear stories like that, including myself. I'm telling you right now, you hear stories like that, and you hear, and the first reaction is, the cop had to do what he had to do. What is he? You're just going to play a guessing game? Maybe he won't shoot me. Maybe he will. They're trained to shoot right away. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So he did what he did. Mm-hmm. Now, that's not a...
I think, to piggyback that before you go, they tell each other we got to make it back home to our families.
Exactly.
But they forget about the citizens who have to make it back home to their families.
So here's this though. Now you're on parole. Well, why would you want to be out with the gun in your hand? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't look. I mean, I'm not. Now, hold on. Let me finish. Let me get this through real quick. The narrative.
No, I understand what you're
The
saying.
narrative's against you from the beginning. You made a decision to do something. Now, this is a really complex issue, and I understand it a little bit from the little bit of my life that I've experienced. I've seen it, and now I know enough to understand that you don't really have a choice when you grow up in certain places. You don't have a choice. People are like, you have a choice always. You do have a choice, but it's really not that simple. It's like when you grow
That's
up.
a whole nother podcast right there.
It is, and I know this is such a deep thing. When you grow up in a suburb, the culture is go to school, find a job, do the right thing, and that's awesome. I feel like every neighborhood should have that culture, but sometimes in different neighborhoods, that's not the culture. The culture is, look, these dudes on the street hitting licks all day. They got the money, they got the cars, they got the girls. That's university for some people. That's going to college for some people. People can't wrap their heads around that. I'm not saying it's the right thing. It's just a reality. You know what I'm saying?
Are you saying what they do with their money in the streets? Like,
I'm talking about how people don't understand how so much crime.
Oh, how they don't understand how you could be forced into.
Yeah.
Well, this is another topic. I want to continue with policing, and we need to, you know what I mean, really drum on that. But and that was part of my I guess you could say adamacy about talking about this topic, is because you can't really talk about just policing without mentioning everything else. Because in order to understand, like, and to piggyback off of what you said, how it could be different, or the views and perspectives based on where you grew up at and how you live could be different, that's understanding that some of us didn't grow up with the same opportunities. While there was money being funneled and granted and poured out into the outer communities, you know what I mean, as far as the suburbs, as far as the middle class areas, us lower class people, we're getting these opportunities taken away in order for upper class and middle class to have them. So while they're pumping tax dollars through grants in these nice schools, because schools are funded based on the environment and area, a lot of people can't grasp that concept. But if you funneling money out into the suburbs and middle class for them to get better curriculum, for them to get better equipment, don't you think that's taken away from somebody else? Because they're going to look at a couple statistics. And if you understand those statistics, this is just in schooling, and understand how these opportunities are taken away out of our communities, then you start to understand that we're being attacked. We aren't victims, we are made victims. We are born victims. School funding is based on the accuracy, as far as the amount of people who are, I said accuracy, excuse me, the amount of people who are coming out of that school, that's graduation rates, that's statistics as far as how many people are in class every day. That's, you know what I mean? Like, on top of the community around it. So if you got a school in the hood, you already made us to feel less than. When you took away our after school programs and our outside of school opportunities, when we don't have as many after school opportunities, or the Y's open like they used to be, or the Boys and Girls Club getting funding taken away, like, I mean, then you start to understand how it was structured for us to do nothing but fail. Because you still have, like, on the piggybacks of, oh, this is gonna sound, I'm gonna just touch this, on a piggyback of slavery, they say it didn't happen too long ago. Slavery wasn't that long ago, 300 some years ago. So think about the wealth that was built within the last 500 years just off the backs of slaves. And then you understand that a lot of that wealth was retained. It wasn't let go, nobody took it, and it was passed down from generations. So now you have a bunch of, how I see it, they're going to be mad when I say this, a bunch of privileged whites nowadays who doesn't understand or can't fathom the knowledge that they became successful because of passed down wealth. So if you can get a business when you're 18 years old, or like Trump, what's that?
You want to know the response to that real quick? Just to, somebody's going to scream if I don't say that.
I know.
Who alive today owned slaves?
Now, they always say that. Who alive today still has wealth off of the backs of slaves?
And here's the question.
Who alive today still has land
We don't know.
off of the backs of slaves?
Actually, not that many. Think about
right, but it's not like it disappeared.
Think about this stuff.
No, think about this, Neal. You remember 40 Acres and a Mule?
Yeah.
40 Acres and a Mule.
That was one of the things written in
the east southern border, the whole east southern border of the United States was given to freed slaves.
Yeah.
And that's when the KKK became about. They went down that east southern border and wiped out all them families and took out all that land.
Hold that thought, though. No, this is important. And a lot of you're not wrong. You're not wrong in what you're saying. But there's also the aspect people don't realize is that most of the people, especially white people right now in America, most of them, including this is me, 100% me, my family, everybody, most of the people I know, I'm probably speaking for them right now. Their family came here before the baby boom era, right before. So the early, maybe the 1930s, 40s, 50s, and 60s, they all started coming here from Italy and Poland and Germany. And you're talking about the landowners in America 300 years ago, the English and the Irish and like the people, that's less than 10% of the population of descendants of those people. Most people today.
Oh, you mean like the people who own businesses and call laws? Those people?
Right, but no, and that's what I'm saying. You're not wrong. It's just that most people have nothing. Even their ancestors had nothing to do with it. Even their ancestors had nothing to do with it. While slavery was going on in America, most Americans' ancestors were in Europe. Who knows? Probably was a slave too. A lot of the Slavic people, a lot of the Germanic people were slaves. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So
it's not like you can't see that the history didn't leave, Neal. The history never left America. The people who felt like blacks were to be slaves for the rest of their life, those people, that ideology never left America. So like what I'm saying is like, if you look at, and this is just a nitpick on like a lot of the prejudicial laws that have been passed. So you mean to tell me that because that small few was here and that other people came to this country after, that you feel like that shit just died out? That all that wealth and all that land just died out?
Absolutely not.
That shit got passed down, like what I was saying. So like the response to when people ask, is there anybody around now who were slave owners, or is there anybody around right now who was a slave? Probably not.
Absolutely.
But the wealth is still here. And because of the wealth being there, it came out of our neighborhoods growing up. We never had what was already somebody else's. It was taken away from us.
I'm glad you mentioned the word wealth. I'm glad you mentioned the word wealth, because me personally, I'm not looking at that. I'm looking at opportunity. Okay? So you got two.
Yeah, but opportunity, right, comes off of understanding that the people with the wealth give us the opportunities.
Okay, but now check this out, right? Minorities in America have gone through a lot of hardships, even in the last 100 years. I mean, it wasn't even until
a lot of hardships.
It wasn't even until the 60s and 70s where we really started seeing like real change happen after MLK and Malcolm X, right? But
then you look at the state of the country now and you ask, how much did it change?
I think it changed a lot. That's what I want. That's what I'm trying to get across. Is I think people. We're hard on ourselves too much about. I think there's been tons of change. I think we need to look at that. We need to celebrate that too. I really do. We got a black president. He had 2 terms. He was loved by America. You know what I'm saying? Now look at.
No comment.
People always roll their eyes when I say comment. People always roll their eyes when I say, but check this out though. How many black judges do we got now? How many black police officers do you see now?
Yeah. No, it's a sign of the times. That's for sure.
Better, okay, and nobody's. There are people that don't like that. There are racists in the world that don't like that. I'm not one of them. I like seeing people get included in. I like to see equality of opportunity, not equality of outcome.
See, like,
so we can't just force. Force everybody to be the same, have the same amount of money, have the same house, have the same car.
But I got a conspiracy about that too, though, Neal. You know, I'm a big conspiracy theorist. Like, all the greats, if you look at our athletes, our entertainers, all the great blacks that have ever walked this earth, I feel like somebody made damn sure a point that they were all wiped out, bro. Anybody that was great for our culture and our people, they're dead, bro. Let's talk about it. Let's really talk about
Malcolm X. Who killed Malcolm X? Seriously.
Who killed Malcolm X, Neal?
I went down a deep rabbit hole with Malcolm X.
Our government killed Malcolm X. Let's be honest.
I read a lot of Malcolm X's work. I watched his interviews and his videos. He was a genius. He was on another level intellectually. No doubt about that. I love a lot of the stuff he had to say. I'd probably disagree with most of the stuff he had to say. He was a segregationist. He wanted separate but equal Americas. He wanted a black America. He wanted a white America. And we're almost seeing that right now. Malcolm X's vision of America is almost starting to, it looks like it's coming that way. It really does. However,
negative. Not when there's people like me and you, brother.
No, I know. Exactly. I don't think it will happen. I think eventually people are going to start being colorblind. That's that. Especially when you look at biracial, how many biracial people are everywhere. Eventually, everyone's going to be biracial.
I'm going to say this once. People are going to kill me for this. Right. I think the boomers need to just die off. That's quit passing down this hateful ideology. Boomers need to die off, man.
Yeah, okay. But all jokes aside, right? Listen, Malcolm X, though, there's a lot of truth to this. That he was actually killed by, I want to say, the Nation of Islam. That's what he was. Louis Farrakhan quoted. This is a quote from Louis Farrakhan, and I'm probably going to butcher it. I'm just paraphrasing. He said something along the lines of, "Yeah, we took him out. He started changing his tone and what we wanted him to say." And I'm reading that like, what?
Mm-hmm.
It's like he's admitting.
But there's the aspect to that though. And like what was left out of all of that is at the end of the day, Malcolm X had to die because he called Louis Farrakhan for what he was.
Yes, he was right.
He was a con artist and he was a womanizer.
Yeah, I can't stand Louis Farrakhan.
Like I don't mean to talk. I hope don't know. Listen, Wala Adim Anabehebik. I have no problem with Islamic people. I have no problem with anybody just because of your ethnicity.
That doesn't bother me.
But
by the way,
and let's get this understood right now.
Real quick, the First Amendment, whether you like Islam or not, you might hate Islam. You're probably a Christian or a Jew. You don't like Islam. You don't have to like them. The First Amendment protects them. The First Amendment's for every single religion under the planet. That protects every single religion, every single point of the world.
And it won't get butchered here, brother.
Like it or not, it is what it is. Like this is, you know what I'm saying? First Amendment.
I study like you know me, like I got close with Arabic people. I worked in a corner store for a lot of my life.
Yeah, one of my best friends is from
Lebanon. I learned Arabic.
Yeah, actually, I'm gonna bring him on here one of these days. My boy from Lebanon, and he's got a worldview.
I'd love it.
He's got a worldview that everyone should hear because people don't understand a lot of the fake news that surrounds them.
I'm gonna touch on this right now because like it's not said enough, and I don't care how anybody feel what I'm about to say. The Arabic culture, they have some of the most humble, loving people I've ever met, bro.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah, that's a fact. A lot of people look at.
But and this is like I remember like I started.
Muslim,
go ahead.
As soon as you say the word Muslim, their brain goes right to ISIS. It's like
oh yeah,
this thing that's.
As soon as you say Muslim or Arabic, their brain goes to terrorist. It's how we were trained. After 9/11, that's all that people could see. They see a turban and they think enemy. They see a shawl and they think enemy. I see people. It's all I ever could see.
And by the way,
when you multi-ethnic, your brain won't let you see nothing else.
ISIS killed more Muslims than it killed anyone else. That's who they killed the most. Was
that's a fact.
Muslims that they didn't like, who weren't as extreme as they were. You know what I'm saying? That was what. So people just think of Muslim like ISIS. Oh, Al Qaeda. Oh, yeah. It's like no.
And that isn't the true practice of Islam anyway.
That's like saying all Christians are the Catholic Church. And they're all a bunch of, you know what I'm saying?
But if you come to know religion, you also come to know that ISIS and the Taliban and whatever terrorist group that comes from the Middle East, they don't represent what is true. You know what I mean? Like that isn't true preachings and teachings of the Quran. That isn't true Islamic State.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you know, that's another. I'm gonna have my friend from Lebanon come in and discuss some of those misconceptions because he's lived over there. So, but back to what we were saying before with police, right? So,
right.
A good chunk of my life, I lived in a not so like after high school, after my, when I went away and stuff like that. I came back, found a job, and I was living in a not so rich neighborhood, put it that way. And I witnessed things that will open my eyes a little bit. I'll give you
Where were you living? Where were you living, Neal?
Cheektowaga and like the projects over there. You know, I'm talking about the
Oh, so like closer to the hood, but not so much the hood.
The Wynwood apartments. You know what I'm talking about? You know what I'm talking about.
Oh, right there on Bailey near University.
No. It's on Harlem Road.
Oh, up there near the gun range, the gun store.
Yes, right there. I lived there for a few years.
Yeah.
And what I noticed there kind of opened my eyes a little bit onto some things that I didn't agree with, right? And I'll give you an example. They have these parking times on the streets, and that nobody. By the way, nobody has a parking space. You park on the street, or you park like in front of the building. Like there's only a few. The parking is crazy. It's designed to make you
it's limited,
very limited, because most people don't have a car that live there, so they didn't design it for people to have cars. Now, some people need a car for their job. I was one of those people, and I noticed that the parking times would change day by day. Where you can park on this side of the street, you can park on that side of the street, and I'm not kidding you. I'm not kidding you. There was a couple cops, and I'm not saying anything about the police department. It's just a couple cops, individual, who would literally wait until that time for the switch, and it say 2 p.m.
And then come rolling up the street.
Come rolling up and start ticketing everybody one by one, and then, dude, it affects people. Like that's now right away. People are like, why don't you just follow the law? Well, it's like sometimes people have to go somewhere, they have to leave their car there for a couple hours. They might miss the time. They might forget. People have mental health issues. They forget things. Now the cop comes by right at that time and starts ticketing people. No second chances. Sorry, you broke the law, right? And I noticed that you don't have that problem in the suburbs. Like people have a parking lot. People have driveways. They have garages. There's none of that. Really, that's not a thing.
Now I'll let you continue, but I'll ask a question to piggyback that. And this is off of understanding policing.
Who can afford parking tickets? People that have money saved in the bank. People that live in the projects in Cheektowaga, who you don't live there because you got money. You live there because you're living check to check. Your budget is exactly what you need. No, I'm telling you, I lived this way for a little while.
That's a fact.
I could not go.
That's a fact.
I couldn't save any money. All my money went right to rent, went right to my bills. I had a couple bucks left over for food, and if I got a parking ticket, I don't know what to do. $100, $50. I can't pay this. I don't have it. So all of a sudden, tickets start piling up. Next thing you know, you lose your car. Then you got to pay for that. And then you're behind on your rent. You get behind on the other bills. It goes deeper than people understand. And you just don't have that issue when you live in like Amherst or, you know what I'm saying? Like that's just not an issue for people like that. And by the way, if it was
in suburban areas,
they'd get a ticket and forget about it like it's nothing. Where people in other neighborhoods, they can't just pay for a ticket like it's nothing. They don't have it. They just don't have it.
Now, to piggyback off of that too, like we were talking about policing, how many times in Cheektowaga versus Amherst did you actually see police cars?
A lot. Over there was a lot. It was probably they treated it like it was the city over in that neighborhood. I'm just telling you, I'm not gonna, you know what I'm saying?
And then like when you say, and that's an important little tidbit you just said there, they treated it like the city.
Right. Well, all right, now I gotta be fair to the facts now.
You see this big hamburger smile I got on? No. They treated it like the city.
Because, and you got to look at it like this, though.
That's a lot.
City,
Neal, you just said a lot
city
right
has
there,
a dense
bro.
population. You got apartment complexes, people living on top of people. There's more people, which is more crime. So you're going to have more cops. That's just a fact. You know what I'm saying? Now, but that doesn't help. Like that just means you have to hire more cops who are probably not ready for the job. So it actually turns into a storm that just gets bigger and bigger and bigger every time. You know what I'm saying? It just gets worse and worse. Like there's no way to make that good. It's gonna, no matter what, as long as we have dense populated cities, there's gonna be crime. There's gonna be police brutality.
But the issue is like overall, and we're looking at it in America right now with these pedophilia rings. The issue is you too busy looking at where you think there's crime is, and you're not looking where there's actually crime. Meanwhile, while you looking on the corners because you feel like it's dope boys out there, you just had a 3-year-old go missing. Meanwhile, while you looking at the gang members because you feel like they're the biggest threat, people just storm the Capitol. What are we really paying attention to in America? What is it that the police force is taught to look for?
You know, like I said, it's a complex issue. You know, it's nothing you
Them
can't.
multi-million-dollar houses with all them bricks of cocaine, them shit's not getting policed.
It's true. Now,
That big house in Amherst that got kids in the basement, that joint not getting policed. I ain't saying that. Hold on. I'm not saying that there's a house with kids in the basement in Amherst. I'm gonna just say that right now.
it's possible.
But I'm saying like the suburbs, you know what I mean? Like the suburban areas where the highest value crime really goes, it's not paid attention to. That's where you're going to find your narcos. That's where you're going to find Pablo from Mexico. That's where you're going to find somebody chopped the fuck up. That's where you're going to find the bricks. We see it all the time.
Listen, though,
they go into these areas because they get a tip and they go in a house and that's 400,000 sitting on the table.
that leads to
That's not in the hood.
That leads to what? Now we want to talk about the roots of this, right? Because you just asked, why are they looking at these places? You know what my opinion on this matter is, and this might be controversial. I think the problem is single parent mothers on welfare trying to raise kids on their own. Down to
Neal, I'm about to jump through this phone and beat you up myself.
You're doomed to fail from the beginning, though. Like, we got a system in place, and I'm not blaming Democrats in particular, but it's mostly left-leaning politicians that do this. They want to push for just throwing welfare at all the problems. Let's just give them all benefits and all.
Now, I'll hit this in 2 stages.
Okay.
I'm gonna hit this in 2 stages, and I'm gonna speak quick. Those single mothers were created by the government who thought they should have a war on drugs.
I'm listening.
Those single mothers, I'm going to say it one more time, were created by the government who thought they should have a war on drugs.
When you say
when the crack cocaine, the crack.
You say created, do you mean, what do you mean by created? That's what I want to know. You said created. You mean they designed
created
it? They designed it to that
way?
They
created, the government created, the government, if the government created single mother households, and you understand that by understanding the 2 steps that it took. You understand that there was a war on drugs, and you understand that they weren't victimized.
What about
they were criminalized? You said what?
What about designing a system where it's I'm the government, I give you benefits, just vote for us, and we'll keep giving you more benefits every time. We'll raise your.
Hold on, and I'm gonna piggyback that because people forget. And you brought up the Nation of Islam. Well, let's talk about the Black Panther Society, because there would be no welfare or any type of public assistance or any type of Planned Parenthood. None of that would have ever became about had not the Black Panther Society done that shit for our community.
How much has it helped? How much has it helped? How much has Planned Parenthood helped?
How much?
Killing
I'm not saying Planned Parenthood. It only came about. Now, hold on. I'm not saying that Planned Parenthood is beneficial. What I'm saying is that with the ideology of Black Parenthood, with the Black Panther Society, all of this other shit came about. Without the Black Panthers, you wouldn't have EBT. You wouldn't have SNAP. You wouldn't have local offices that you could walk into, doctor offices. They made that possible by opening these things up. Even if you look at soup kitchens. When they started doing this in the African American community, and the African American community needed the government less, when they started policing their own communities, when they started making sure that there was free doctors available for their own communities, when they opened up free soup kitchens for their own communities and didn't rely on the backs of the government, it hurt dollars a lot. They didn't go after the Black Panther Society because they were an issue to national security or that they were a terrorist organization. They went after the Black Panther Society because as they rose, the need of government assistance dropped.
Margaret Sanger was the founder of Planned Parenthood. This is on her. Look at that. Eugenics. Her main study and obsession was race. She strategically placed. She was completely racist.
Planned Parenthood in every Black community.
She wanted to lower the birth rates of Blacks in America. She wanted you guys to die. You know what I'm saying? To me, that's crazy. And that's what. So how does that? First of all, to me that's just mind blowing. That people talk.
We'll get to that.
Planned Parenthood.
Let's stay on the Black fathers.
And mothers. Good. That's what I want to talk about. So now you got a system in place, right? Of government people back in the day who put these institutions in place, like you said, the Black Panthers. They're the ones that got everyone food stamps and got everyone welfare. How about that 7-generation family that's been on welfare and food stamps the whole time and still lives in the hood and no one's ever went to college?
Now I'm not now.
How does that help?
I'm not saying like, but that's to understand how far gone.
Let me say one more thing too, real quick, and
What's that?
I'll let you take it away. Let me just say one more thing real quick. Let me take it away. So that's one example, right?
Okay.
You people want equality, right? Equality. Now you want equality. The people in the suburbs who got good jobs and have a nice house and 2 cars, how is that equality of food stamps and public assistance and living in the hood, and you can't even get a job? If you get a job, they cut your benefits up. That's not equality. No, that's what
not at all. And that's another aspect to that. Like, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I totally. Last thing I'm going to say, and I'll let you take it away. I totally think that the welfare system is an important thing that we need for people that need help, people that have disabilities, people with mental health issues. Mm-hmm. But when you start just slamming it on people for the purpose of equality, or they like that, to me, you're just putting people back. It just doesn't work. It makes things worse. You're just creating more division.
If you like
equality of opportunity, means people should be able to go to school, should find a career, and not just stay dependent on the system for generation to generation. That just causes more of a division, causes more crime in the end. You know what I'm saying? If I'm on food stamps and public assistance, I don't have any money. How am I supposed to buy a car? I got to do something under the table. That might be something illegal. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying?
And that's only to understand, like, and I'll speak on that real quick, because that's a big issue in our community too that a lot of people don't understand. One, statistically speaking, Caucasians are the biggest recipients of any type of governmental assistance.
Yeah, so
put that out there.
No, it's also because there's 60%
statistically to this date. Well, right.
60%.
So why are we involved with the police so much if we such a smaller population size? We'll get to that in a second.
Okay, I got an answer to that too.
Now, yeah. But when you understand, like, the basic net that catches you with this government assistance shit, whether it be food stamps or cash assistance, there's a guideline. And with that guideline, you start to understand when you see it as a person who has to be in this position. You have to have food stamps to feed your kids. You have to have food stamps to eat tonight. You have to have cash assistance to pay your bills. People who are in these positions, you only start to see that the smallest fluctuation of income, all of that stuff that you just relied on stops. You relied on it. So now instead of taking that $800 in food stamps a month that you got, now you're making $1,000 a month. Let's, just for shits and giggles, it might be $2,000 a month now. But now that $800 disappears. So even though you make $2,000 a month, now you have to supplement what you lost in food stamps because you became accustomed to shopping off of that worth. So you looking for that $800, now you living off of $1,200 a month. What if your rent is $800? You know what I mean? Because rent is also the price of living rising while everything else is staying the same.
Yep.
So how is it that I can survive off of $1,200 a month? You know what I mean? And I'm getting hit with new fluctuations. So now I'm getting taxed. This ain't like I'm getting tax-free money. So that $1,200 essentially now is $1,000 to $800. My lights might be $150.
You might get a family member that throws you a check, Christmas, whatever, birthday money, whatever they want. They just want to help you out. Now you're in the system, right? You go and cash that check. Somehow it gets flagged. Right?
Oh,
somehow
it's over. It's over.
That's it. You're cut. You don't even. You don't have to have.
Yeah, so you can't even open an account. They want to know if you opening up a banking account.
You got a one-time check, and all of a sudden you can't get food stamps that month. Now you got to reapply. You got to
because they see it. They see it that you have family that will help you.
Boom, you're done. You're cut. They want you dependent on them. So what that does is that creates, puts you in a corner. It boxes you in a corner. You're not going to report that. Why would I report that? It's not their fault that they don't want to report that. Oh, they're being dishonest. They're being liars. No, they're not. They're just doing what they got to do to survive. I wouldn't report that money either. So now check this out. Later on, all of a sudden you don't report it. They catch it. They catch it later. Now you're done. Now you can't even get anything. Now you're cut off. They'll tell you can't come back for 6 months. Now what do? Now you're on the street. Literally. Now you're
Mm-hmm.
now you're living in the
physically on the street.
Yeah, or you're living in the what's it called? The downtown. What's
Shelter.
Can you imagine? Just because you wanted to, that's a reality too. People don't realize that. That's a reality.
It's a reality I just lived. Remember? That's a reality I just lived.
I know. You've been through some ups and downs in your life, dude. You really got it together though. You know what I'm saying?
But that, like, I mean, like, well, that's another topic. I won't touch that right now.
It's all right.
I had to go through a lot. To get to this point, though.
You did.
And a lot of that was mental. Like, it was understanding, like, this world, Neal, you know me, like very few people do. This world beat me down. I had to understand how the world worked before I could understand how to live in it. And it took me a long time to understand how the world worked.
Mm-hmm.
Long time.
I know.
And things aren't as black and white as we all want to admit it to be. Right. Sometimes in order to survive, we, like you said, we got to find that gray area. And I found a lot of gray areas in my life.
Yeah. You getting emotional there?
Nah. A little bit, but I ain't gonna let it show on camera. You got me fucked up.
It's all right, dude. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know.
I mean, Neal, you know me since.
I know what you've been.
Like, you know me since before Robert.
Yeah.
So, like, you was there for two of my biggest struggles, actually.
I have a 12-year-old son, and I remember when he was the size of our palm. So I watched.
Yeah.
And so that's what I'm saying. I know you pretty
well. Yeah, you was there.
But
yeah. Back to the topic.
But you know what? Let's stay on that for 1 second, because that's the thing people don't understand. Is like, when you go through hardships in life, that's the best thing that can happen to you. It just makes you stronger, makes you a better person. Everything all the bullshit that I've been through, I don't regret none of it, because it formed my opinions and my ideology and made me see things for what they are. And you find out that things are bullshit most of the time, and you got, you know what I'm saying? Like, you have to. It's crazy. Like, when you get beat up like that, you come back stronger every time. Or you can let it. Some people don't. Some people never recover, and that's a shame. People let the world beat them up, and they just never recover from it. And they just go down darker and darker until they hit bottom. Some people die. You know what I'm saying? It happens. But like, if you can actually get through,
I was close.
You can actually get through those things and live through it. Man, you become the strongest person that you know. Like, you just get to another level of life that is just, people look at you like, wow, this person. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've seen that a lot of people grow like that in my life.
I mean, like, the most beautiful flower you're ever gonna see probably grew through concrete or grew through the darkness.
That's a good point, dude. It's a good point.
Most beautiful flower you will ever see, it will grow through concrete, or you'll see it grow in darkness.
That's a fact. So I just want to tie it up like this, right? I don't even know how long we've been live for, but whatever. The way I see the things going on right now with the Capitol and Black Lives Matter, Antifa, I see a lot of people just failing to recognize that everybody makes a choice based on their life experience. Nobody just wakes up one day and says, I'm going to be in the KKK today because I think that's cool. Something happened in that person's life where they decided that they changed their ideology for the worse. You know what I'm saying? Now, to bring that to today, what we're seeing today, I see people seeing everything. They look at the world through race. They're just seeing everything in terms of race. And I want to just like grab everybody and shake them, like, you don't understand. You're being divided on. It's a plan to do that. They want people divided. Yeah. It's been the biggest tactic for the ancient Chinese. It's in the art of war. The Romans, the Mongols, the Ottomans. They all know it's divide and conquer. Divide and conquer. It's the most successful way to take over is by dividing people. The easiest way to control people, by dividing people. Know how to push their buttons. Know when to make you mad, when to make you happy. The media is the tool for that too. The media. I watch these headlines and I see people go from the language they use for certain things that push the narrative in a certain direction is mind blowing to me. That only certain people have ability to like call it out for what it is. You know, and you see that on both. You see that in Fox News, CNN. It doesn't matter what it is. Both sides, they do the same thing. It's just they're not looking to tell you the truth. They're looking to validate the worldview that they're trying to push. That's it. So they'll hide things. Oh, that
sounds like policing.
that
No,
makes
I'm
them
just
look.
kidding.
That makes them look good. Let's not say that. Or this makes us look good. Let's talk about this more. And you don't see people actually trying to find the truth. It's all about validation. It's all about proving my point.
I think, and to piggyback on that, I'm not saying that I'm a fan, but that's one thing that I do like about Trump that off puts Trump to other people. Give it to me straight, bro.
Yeah. And you know what?
Give it to me straight. Trump don't really sugarcoat too much of shit, and he not looking at that paper in front of him. Trump about to say what the fuck is on his mind. I like that.
Yeah, no, and I mean, yeah, dude, Trump, his presidency just turned out to be a crazy. It was looking good for the first 2 years, and then the third year it was like, and then the fourth year it's gone now. It's like the people, the power, the people who are in power, the elitists, the people who really control the world narrative, they did not want his presidency to go down in a positive way, and they succeeded with precision.
At all.
That's a fact. I mean, look he gave more money to black colleges than Obama did. He pushed for school choice laws, school choice policy that would, like, someone in Central Park can go to the same school as someone in Allentown if they just chose to. And they were pushing against that. I'm like, what's the argument against that? Why should that not be a thing? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, I don't like
black unemployment was at its lowest ever.
My thing is, it's not about when you tell me you love me. It's about how you treat me once the relationship is done. And look at how he's acting right now. He lost me any type of any respect I could have had for him as a president. He's lost it. He going out like a
oh, go ahead. Talk about it. Why is that though?
I feel like he going. I feel like he going out like a baby who don't want to leave their mom house, or who don't want to leave their dad house, or who went to go visit grandma and you told him it's time to go.
Yeah.
And he's pissing and he's moaning, he's pounding, and you gotta drag him.
Yeah, so it's over for him now.
That Capitol thing was a farce, bro. That shit was a farce. Ain't nothing ever outside of 9/11. Whatever happened like that in our country, ever?
Nothing. I don't know.
You mean to tell me people was just like, wasn't nobody just allowed in one of the most secured places?
I watched it go down, and people were there to stand up and protest peacefully, and then it turned into a mess at the last second. And dude, if you tell me
it looked like a very structured mess.
Now he's getting impeached for it, but if you really look at it, what did he really do though? Besides he just was him. You know what I'm saying? He didn't tell nobody to.
I think to an extent they got a point. If you look at the wording on the impeachment, they do have a point. It is impeachable. He did incite unrest in our country.
Oh.
His little tweets and the shit that he was saying about the ballots not being right and all of that, like. Yeah, at the end of the day, it's up to you as a president to bring this shit to your people. Yeah. You bring this shit to Congress. You bring it to the people of power. You don't go tweet about it. We got one of the most tweetiest presidents in history. What is you tweeting for? Why do the public need to be incited with this? You feel like it wasn't right, then get the government to do the ballot count. Do the ballot count.
That was his tool of getting what he thought out there to his people, to the Trump supporters.
That was him being an internet bully. That's why I said, like, I don't respect how he plays the internet, for him being such a person of power.
The internet bully that got banned from Twitter. Like, I don't know, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, like, and I think to an extent that was an issue, but people don't understand companies like Twitter and Facebook. That's what they are, companies. They don't got nothing to do with America. They ain't got shit to do with the First Amendment, Second Amendment, Third Amendment, Fourth Amendment. They don't write no laws. Them is companies.
Yeah.
First thing they try to say is that was an abuse of power. No, that's a company. They can. Yeah, it's like you walking into a store without a shirt on.
Yeah, they do.
They can tell you to leave.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. But I do think he was wrong. He incited some BS with that. And I'm saying that to say, like, it's not like Trump not stupid. You're one of the most powerful people on the planet right now. You got all this information before you. It's not like you don't understand by you saying what you're saying, knowing how extreme your fan base really is. Let's be honest. Because even if you look at a lot of, this is going to make some people feel some type of way. If you look at a lot of the protests that met ahead, It was because Trump supporters showed up, bruh. I'm just saying that.
So you think that there were agitators on both sides trying to start shit? They're trying to start stuff. There's truth to that.
Yeah. Throughout all of this, on both sides. But at the end of the day, like how I see it.
I'm glad you brought that up, dude, because listen, people don't realize that we see in the media, we see on TV, we see far right wing Proud Boys and far left wing Antifa, and everybody assumes that everyone that's a Democrat that votes Democrat is Antifa. Everyone that votes Republican is Proud Boy. When in reality, 95% of the country is in the middle of those two, and doesn't subscribe to those ideas. So you got the little sliver of 5% of the country who are subscribed to those far right or far left ideas, and we don't. And it causes.
See, I wouldn't even know what to describe myself as. Whatever I am, I'm extreme because I think we need to uproot anybody in position of power right now and replace them with fresh blood. You got people that sit on these cabinets until they die. We don't need boomers in office.
You see Joe Biden's cabinet?
You hear me? I'm going to say it again. We don't need boomers in office.
That's why I said, did you see Joe Biden's cabinet?
Yeah.
Dude, everybody in his cabinet has been in government for like 40 years. Every one of them. Or they're in.
We need them people out.
They either were already there during Bill Clinton's presidency or Obama's presidency, or they're from like the National Reserve, Federal Reserve, I mean, and they're just like some like.
This gonna make somebody feel some type of way. I can only be me, Neal. I can only be me. I'm gonna say that right now. I can only be me. It ain't nothing different. If you've been in power, if you've been in government for anything over 10 years, I'll look at you worse than I look at Shorty down the street selling her pussy because it ain't no different. You a bought person. Somebody bought you.
Yeah, dude. No, you don't make it that long. Like seriously, you think about it though.
Somebody bought you
at the federal level. If you've been in the Senate and Congress, the House, whatever, for 40 years, you're doing something to stay there. Something's going.
And I've been, again, excuse my language, Neal. And I've been looking at Blacklist lately. Man, that shit fucked my head up.
Black Mirror?
No, Blacklist.
Oh, the show?
Oh my God.
Yo, you ever watch House of Cards? House of Cards.
No, I gotta watch
House
that.
of Cards. I believe whoever wrote that was a little bit putting in the Clintons, the two main characters.
A little bit putting in the Clintons, but if you look at Blacklist, like it's about secrets of government and how powers is exchanged and backroom hits and backroom deals. Like
House of Cards. So it's House of Cards is about the government.
It like
just completely shady, murdering people, lying, doing whatever they gotta do.
Involved with different gangs, involved with cartels, and funneling money to shell companies. And
Robbie, those are the real gangsters of the world as politicians. Who are the real gangsters?
Who you talking to, Neal? I done sat in a room with some of these motherfuckers. I know, brother.
Real gangsters.
They carry themselves like gangsters. How they move quiet and everything is on the surface. You could tell they live a surface life.
Yep.
All of them gangsters, bro.
Yep.
He gonna hate me because he gave me a governor's award. I sat across from Tom Wolfe. He one of the biggest gangsters I ever been around. I sat across from this man and ate dinner. That motherfucker a gangster.
What do you think about government on the local level? Do you think you think some change is necessary? You know what I mean? Like, do you think we need some new ideas, some new?
I think you need to I think you need to uproot the whole government. Like I know it sounds radical, Neal, but I'm talking about local. I'm talking about legislation. I'm talking about president, vice. I'm talking about cabinet members, Supreme Courts. Get everybody out of power that ain't fresh young blood.
And that's what I'm saying.
All us. They like to call us.
A lot of these people who hate Trump, who are not, who hated Trump and want change, don't even realize that the new government, the new cabinet under Biden that's coming in, is even more entrenched in government than he was. You know what I'm saying? They want change. Where's the change? We just had change. Now we're going back to what we had before. So that's the truth though.
And then like I don't like how people were so stressed on getting Trump out of power that they didn't realize who they was putting in power.
Exactly.
And I don't even want to touch on that subject right now because that's fucking with my heart. Woo!
For real. Like
they just put a pedophile. They just put a pedophile in power. And we thought kids was coming up missing before.
I mean, from a Democratic perspective, you had a good candidate, Tulsi Gabbard. I said, she looks like she's someone that can work across the aisle. She's been in the military, you know what I'm saying, for X amount of years. She was, she's got the experience. She's smart. She can hop on Joe Rogan podcast for 2 hours with no script. Anyone that can do that, I mean, I give credit to that. You know what I mean?
Oh, you lagged out on mine.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, my bad. I just dropped my.
But I don't know. Anything else you want to talk about? Give him a little ending speech real quick, or what are you thinking?
I give an ending speech. All right, so a lot of y'all probably don't know Neal. I don't often talk about a lot of people. Neal is one of my closest friends for a very long time now. And me and Neal, we normally have these topics, these conversations to ourselves, but we did a podcast a while back, over about 1.5 years ago, and it received a lot of support based on how essentially me and Neal were different ideology wise. We're just able to view the world a lot through the same eyes because we had a lot of these same experiences. And our ethnic background, our religion, and how we grew up has never caused issues in our friendship. And it has helped me, I know for a fact, grow as a person. And no matter what we talk about on these podcasts, no matter what you hear, I'm gonna go on record saying I will fuck you up over Neal. I love my family. I'm a family man.
It's mutual.
To the day is done.
Yeah, and that respect was mutual, dude. And I like to tell people this: you should always have an open dialogue with some people, a couple people in your life. You got a cousin that you disagree with in politics. Open up a chat with him on Facebook and talk to him every day. And give him your opinion. He'll give you his back. You should have like 5 people in your life that you don't agree with, that you're open dialogue with at all times, 24/7, and you'd be able to exchange information together. That's how you get to the truth. You put yourself in an echo chamber, and all you do is look for validation on your worldview. That's it. You're not growing. You're just staying in one spot. And you might become unlikable eventually. That's to be honest.
I like people. Like I like talking with you.
That's the thing people understand. We're in this country together. This isn't 2 countries that we're trying to fight over the country, my side versus your side. This is one country that we all want to see thrive. No matter what no matter if you're a communist or a full-blown free market capitalist. Like there's one. We're living this. We're on the same land. We're doing this. We're in it together on the same boat. If it sinks, we all sink.
I'm gonna end it with. If nobody told you today, this is my saying. If nobody told you today, I love you. We're at a time in our lives. We're at a time in the world right now where we need to feel love. We need to feel support. Spread the love. Anybody around you, anybody in your life right now, as you watch this video, tell them you love them. Think about the people you love. Keep them on your mind. Love is going to heal and cure this world because it's rare. Real love is rare. Spread the love.
I second that. All right, everybody. Catch you on the flip side.